Hey, what's up guys and welcome back to Animaking 3. And today I'm going to be giving you part 13 of What If Naruto Got the Karma Seal from a rogue Otsutsuki. Remember to get this one to 100 likes as usual. Share this to all of your friends in your social media platform. And don't forget to go ahead and check out the other series. Yes, I post a brand new series. What if Naruto was taken to Orochimaru by Sasuke? Yes guys, at the Valley of the End. So go ahead and check out that and enjoy. And remember, if you're new, yes I indeed have 4 channels, which I post what if on every single day for you guys to enjoy. All the links will be down in the description, so go ahead, check them out, and yeah, enjoy. And don't forget to comment down below and tell me if you're new, so I can reply and talk back to all of you. So yeah, without further ado or wasting more time, what do you say we jump right into this? Begin now guys. So the last spot we left off, the Raikage was led towards the area where he would be speaking with the Hokage. Just by walking there, everyone could feel the intensity that the man was letting off. He wasn't just here to talk, if it was necessary. Well, they could all see that. The envoys were tensing to draw their weapons as they could feel the killer intent from the man spiraling out of control. When he got to the room, he wasted no time as he asked, where was he? He wasn't here for talking after all. He just wanted to know where Naruto was to get him out of here. However, Minato brought up the claims that he had, and that he refused to hand Naruto over. Both men were realizing the situation, as there could be no talking this over. Neither of them wanted to hand Naruto over to the other, and the Raikage wanted to take him back. However, Minato would not allow that, so there was only one thing left to do. While that was going on, Naruto could feel it. Yes, he could feel it. He could feel what was going on, despite the seals on his body. As Yui had said, he was less human than he was before. As Naruto was changing, he was getting stronger, evolving into something completely different. He was talking to his sister, as both him and Mito was there at the moment. Mito knew that something was wrong. Given the way he was acting, she knew that he was going to do something. He told her that he had to go. He had to leave. However, she refused. She refused as Naruto pulled out something. It was a letter that he had wrote. But she refused as she gripped onto him. She would not let him go no matter what. However, she could not hold him as he broke her hold over him. Envoys arrived in the scene as they saw his motives, as Naruto dispelled the seals that his body already absorbed the chakra out of. He then flew. Surprising all of them, he flew, took off to the sky. As he arrived to the location, upon arriving there, Naruto crashed through the building, stopping the Raikage and Minato. He gave the Raikage a letter, as a man would understand what to do with it. He apologized, but he would not let them go to war because of him. So once again, just like he did before, to make sure the ones that he loved was okay, Naruto sacrificed himself. To be alone, as he flew off, leaving them. They tried to stop him but they could not, as Naruto left the village. His leaving triggered several reactions, sadness, grief. As Mito, she and Jiraiya had a deeper understanding with Naruto than almost everyone else. It was just how things were. As she promised that she would find him, even if she had to knock some sense into her father and the Raikage herself. Her brother had suffered enough. He was always giving up everything that he had to make sure they were alright. No longer. It's finally time that he be happy. We then skipped towards Kumo. As some time had passed, the Raikage had to lock Yujito up. She wanted to go to Konoha and destroy everything there. She was angry, she was upset the moment she heard the news. So he had to place her in confinement for now until she cooled down. Because the way she saw it, Konoha was behind all of this. It was their fault. All of their faults, and she wanted to make them suffer. So he had to lock her up, as he had a letter that Naruto had given him to give her, but she was not in a state right now. He wanted her to cool down. Samui was heartbroken. She and Naruto had a special bond, and to hear that he was gone, yes, she was heartbroken. His teammates was worried about him, as they want to know what they will have to do to find him. Everyone was out, trying to find a way to get him back, but they had no idea where he went. We had skipped to Naruto, who was in a cave. He had spoken to Jiraiya, and Jiraiya understood. As Naruto confided in him, he had to leave. Jiraiya gave him a scroll that contained money and several other things to make him stronger as well. As Jiraiya said that he will lay the bridge and the foundation between the two nations, and once he did, Naruto could come back without any problems. He would make sure to do that, as Naruto thanked him. Jiraiya also gave him a way to contact him just in case, as no one else knew about that. So with that, Naruto was having some problem though. Ever since doing this once again, it brought back memories and feelings. The broken memories that had left him because of what happened that night finally came back. It was a terrible and tiresome event, but they came back as Naruto remembered everything, which led him to furthermore run away, because now he felt the feelings that he had missed for his real family, and yet his family at Kumo was still there. He would rather die than have them war and hurt each other for him. So he went to the place that he doubted they would ever find him, and that was Kiri. There was a civil war going on in Kiri, as Naruto went on a boat and headed off toward the land. He dyed his hair, which was now black. He placed in contacts. He was wearing a lower face mask to hide his identity. He also had a special makeup over his arms, as one in his palm to cover when the karma mark resurfaced. As he was completely incognito, no one would find him as he made his way towards the village. As Naruto was going to help out the rebellion, he had heard a lot about what was going on there, and he was going to help by fighting on the good side there. As he heard about what the 4th Mizukage was up to and what he was doing. So with that happening, Naruto headed off into the mist. At that moment, Haku and Zabuza had returned back to the village after they were found by one of the rebellion members. It turns out that Zabuza knew the leader of the rebellion very well, Meitarumi. However, at the moment they were in some problem as they were surrounded. As Naruto quickly intervened and got Haku to safety, who was surprised that he could fly. There wasn't much shinobis that could fly, in fact, there was only one, so this was a big surprise. However, when Zabuza finally arrived towards the location, he mistook what was going on as this person harming Haku, so he leaped with his blade to decapitate Naruto. So yeah guys, basically as we left off, you guys can switch across to the place, check it out for yourself, and don't forget to go ahead and check out the other channels. Yes, I need 4 of them, so go ahead and enjoy guys. So yeah, without further ado, let's begin. Now guys, we begin this episode at Kumo with Hyujito. She wasn't allowed to leave the village. The Raikage had insisted that he had his people out there, searching, trying to find Naruto, so her going out there would not change much. However, what he feared was her going to Konoha. She now had a deeper hatred for them. They were the ones that started all of this, as they were the ones responsible, and she wanted them to pay. So she was confined to the village for now. And knowing that she could not do anything was placing her in a rather depressed state. Samui was there for her though, as the girl had been rather close to her in the first place, seeing her as an idol and a mentor, someone that she greatly looked up to from day one. But now things were different. Times were sad, as her eyes were still puffy and red. She was worried. Naruto was gone. They had no idea where he was. The world was harsh and unforgiving, and because of the power that he possessed, he would be a target for anyone that finds out about this. And she feared certain individuals getting their hands on him. That was something that she feared greatly, and not seeing him again. That brought tears to her eyes. Samui was not doing better either, and the fact that she could not do anything to help was making things a lot worse. Sometimes she wondered if this was just some sick dream that she would wake up from any moment now, but it never changed. It doesn't matter how much you go to sleep and wake up, it never changed. As she felt so helpless, his teammates were doing no better, as they still felt regret that they could not do anything to stop his kidnapping within Konoha, that they were not strong enough. But even if they were, fighting off an entire village would be impossible. The Raikage had refused to send them back to Konoha. The Chunin exams has been cancelled. This was a hard thing to do, given the dignitaries and the daimyos that were going to be coming to watch the selection of the Chunin exams. And given the fact that the reason cannot be widely known that Naruto was missing because of all the targets it would put on his head while he was out there in the wild. And this was actually the first time a Chunin exams have ever been cancelled in history. There was no new date, no time selection of when it would be resumed. For now, things were just complicated. Yes, they were. However, Yujito did get to read the letter. However, it had the opposite effect. Knowing that he was doing this, knowing that he gave up his own happiness for all of them, it was something that only people with the kindest and goodest heart could do, but it just made her even more sad that she couldn't do anything to stop it or help. At Konoha, it was the same. Sadness, pain, helplessness. That was a feeling that was going around. Jiraiya had been speaking to Minato for some time now, as that was not really concerning the family because, well, they were trying their best to go through this. Mito had gave them all the letter that Naruto gave, and once again they felt their heart being pulled apart. It was like what happened all those years ago, when he decided to give up his happiness, when he decided to give up everything to make sure they were happy. Once again, even though he had no recollection or memory of them, he decided to do the same. Natsume had been with her mother, consoling her as best as she could, even though she was also receiving the same withdrawal from what happened. Mito, on the other hand, she was training. Yes, she was training. She was not whimpering and, well, going on like them. She was training. Every step of the way, she was getting stronger. As she promised that next time she would not fail. She promised that she would be the one to make sure he returned homes, and nothing will stop her from doing that. So she was training. While that was going on, Zabuza had mistaken Naruto for someone attacking Haku, given the current predicament that they were just in. So he wasted no time. Haku's eyes went wide as he saw the blade. "Behind you!" he yelled. Naruto spun around. The blade was too close to him. Zabuza was a master of the silent killing technique, and with all this mist around him, and Naruto being distracted, he was able to sneak up on him, and the blade was coming down. However, to all of their surprise, Naruto stopped it by slamming both his hands on the side of the blade. As he held it there, Zabuza was a large man, but not just that. He was physically strong even without chakra. So it was rather surprising how Naruto held the blade at bay that was inches away from his face. As Naruto could feel the pressure coming down, yet he could feel that his body was nowhere near its limits. So he started to push it back up. "Zabuza-sama, stop! Haku, run to his aid. He's not the enemy." The grip on the blade lessened as Naruto was still holding it back though. "What's going on?" said Zabuza. As Naruto turned his head, "We don't have time for that. They're coming." As Zabuza glanced towards Haku, who gave him a nod. It was a nod of trust and understanding that they could trust him. So they had to move as a swarm of Kirin ninjas was coming. As they made their way off, sometime later they finally found some decent grounds to relax. As they were far away from the group that had attacked them, and not to mention they got the supplies that they needed, which was a win-win for them. When they settled down, it was nighttime. As Zabuza made sure to check the perimeter where they were, he then came back in as he went straight to Naruto. "Alright, who are you?" he said. Zabuza was never a trusting man to begin with. Coming back in these environments in this war, it was hard to trust anyone. "First of all, my name is Menma," said Naruto. As he was incognito, so he was not gonna use his real name. "And I'm just here to help." "Help, huh?" Zabuza said. "And why is that?" "You have no symbol of any village over you. And I can tell that you're not from here. I haven't seen you around our people. You could be a spy for the Mizukage, so why should I trust you? After all, this could easily be a ploy, saving Haku to gain our trust and then stabbing us in the back." He raised his blade and placed it towards Naruto's neck. "So tell me, why exactly should I trust you?" "Well, for one thing," said Naruto, "I can tell where your people are located." "What?" said Zabuza, as Haku looked towards him. "I'm a sensor," said Naruto. "Not any normal sensor either. I can tell that your people, even given the great distance between us, are submerged on one of the nearby islands. And I can tell you the exact island. So if I was a traitor, I would have given this information towards the Mizukage and have him raid your island and attack your people. Isn't that right?" Zabuza had to say that was sound, but... "So who are you then?" he asked, still not fully trusting this individual. "You're right. I'm not from here," said Naruto. "However, I understand your people's suffering. I understand what it means to be born a certain way and be hated for it. I know what it feels like. And just like your bloodline users, I am hated for simply being me. So I have no home at the moment. But I do what I can to help people in plight and suffering. And your people surely need a helping hand." Majority of what he said was not true, but it was a way for them to trust him. As Zabuza looked at him, "So you understand our people's pain, and you decide to lend a helping hand? No offense, but what exactly do you think you can do? What exactly is one person going to do to make a difference?" "Well, from where I'm standing," said Naruto, "given the numbers against you guys, you're gonna need all the help you can get. So, trust me or don't trust me, but I know that you're not the one in charge. No offense to you, but I want to talk to your boss. And you expect me to bring you back towards our base." "I already told you," said Naruto. "I know where it's located. I'm just not going there because if I go with you, it will be a lot better. And besides," Naruto floated off the ground. "If I was an enemy, I could go back right now and inform the Mizukage. But as I said, I'm not from here and I've never met the man. So let me talk to your boss. I assure you, I'll be a big help in this war that is going on." Zabuza had not dropped his guard or his blade, as he just looked at Naruto, wondering whether he should trust him or not. Even if he trusted him a bit, he would never fully trust him, given the situation that they were in. However, he's not the one that was going to decide. "Fine," he said, "but know this, kid. If you betray us, I'm going to be the one to carve you to pieces. You understand me?" he said. 100%, said Naruto. Time skip. Naruto was blindfolded despite him already knowing he was blindfolded, and he allowed them to seal his chakra. After all, this could be a ploy so that he could kill their leader, as he was brought to a undisclosed location and made to sit in a chair. A couple of minutes pass. That is when the blindfold was removed by a man who did not seem to like him, judging the look on his face. One of his eyes were covered by an eye patch. As he walked forward and opened the door that was there, as someone stepped inside, Naruto had to say, she was exquisite. A beautiful woman. He could only see one of her eyes. Her burgundy hair covered the rest. She was in a blue dress that exposed her thigh. She was wearing a high thigh boot with mesh going into it. She was, as he said before, exquisite. She stepped forward, a small smile on her face. "So you're a Menma," she said. "Yes," said Naruto. "And I take it that you're the one in charge." "I'm curious," she said, as she did not answer him. "Why would you come all this way to get involved in something that does not concern you? I mean, helping is a very good thing, but this is no laughing matter. And from what I can see, you're still a child," she said. "I might be young, but I can be of great service to you," said Naruto. She looked him over. Her dazzling green eye seemed to stare into his soul. "Tell me, Menma," she said, "why should I trust you? Because this wouldn't be the first time that this has happened. This exact situation, to be exact." "Well, that part I can't really do anything about," said Naruto. "As I said, my name is Menma, and I'm just here to help. I know it might seem uncommon or rather stupid for an reply. I mean, not many people in this world nowadays are just willing to help. But as I said, that's all I wish to do. So if you can't trust me, you might as well kick me out. After all, if I can't get you to trust me, that means no one here will ever see me as an ally, just an unknown enemy," said Naruto as he looked at her. So young, and yet so intelligent already, I must say. How is someone like you without a village? From what my subordinates have saw, just a glimpse, you're quite strong, she said. As Naruto looked down, my past is not a nice one, and I'd rather not talk about it. She saw the look in his eyes, that broken look, but it was gone the next second. "Alright, Menma," she said. "I'll take what you're saying in consideration. However, for now, I'm afraid the seals will have to remain for a tiny bit." "Don't worry," said Naruto. "I understand. You do what you must to keep your people safe. That is what it means to be a leader after all," said Naruto. "I'm glad you understand." As she stepped out of the room, saying that she will be back. Once she got outside, was he lying? She asked towards the man that was beside her with the eye patch. Ao shook his head. "No," he said. "Either he's an expert and is able to fool the Byakugan, which is unheard of. For a child so young to be able to fool these eyes in the first place. Or he's telling the truth. I noticed something within his eyes. It shows someone that has lost and went through a lot. Eyes like that should not be on a kid that young." Maybe, just maybe, she thought to herself. Meanwhile, inside, Naruto did lie about his name. However, he told Haku and Zabuza that his name was Menma. She asked him if that is what he called himself. Well, in loose terms, And he just agreed, so that wasn't really much of a lie. However, he hoped it was enough for them to trust him. He knew that trust was earned, but at least for now, so that he could gain on their good side. As Naruto sat there, he got caught up in his thoughts, something that he truly hated. Ever since he remembered who he truly was, he has been depressed. It might not look it, but he was deeply saddened and depressed on the inside. However, he did something that would help him through. He shoved those feelings down, deep in the crevices of his mind. Yes, they deeply troubled him and bothered him every second of each time, but he would suffer 100 times worse to protect the ones that he loved. He just hoped that Jiraiya could actually get this working. He had no clue or what was going on, but he knew once again he has caused them pain. Not just his real family though, but his adoptive family at Kumo, as he thought about each and every one of them. He calmed himself as he shook away those thoughts. Yue has not spoken to him since he had that weird memory lapse of her memories, he was certain. Why would someone get so angry? He believed that he somehow invaded their privacy, despite her being well stuck inside of him. But he was not sure what those memories were. The next time he spoke to her, he should apologize. Despite the way she's acting, he knew that she had feelings. Just because she was not human, that didn't mean that she did not have feelings. Time skip. Ayo had tried to use his Byakugan on Naruto. However, because of the Karma Seal, and because of what happened, Naruto turned in more into Otsutsuki. The seal was so bonded with him that all Ayo saw was Naruto. He would not see or felt anything until it was activated, as Naruto's body had transitioned from a normal human into a Otsutsuki. That is why he was gaining so much strength. His latent potential for being the son of Minato and Kushina, who were both great on their own, combined into something special, and now with Yue inside of him, made him an almost perfect specimen. Over time his body will grow, and his strength will grow with it. Everything, including senses, will also increase as well. It's just a matter of time. Mei had came back and spoken to him. She was trying to figure out more about him. The questions that she asked, they were nothing too personal, but just trying to gain a rough understanding. He was set free from the location that he was in. Strangely enough, Mei found herself having trust in him in just a few hours. It was weird. He had this unknown goodness about him that she just couldn't understand. This nature of protecting. She felt like he was trying to protect her. Because he asked her something. He asked her if she needed to rest because she seemed tired. And indeed she was. Recent, everything was just piling on. And she was tired. However, she had to be strong for her people. But he was able to see that. He saw right through her tough guy act. And he saw everything. She felt like he was trying to protect her, despite barely knowing her. And she felt like she could trust him, despite barely knowing him. She just had to see where this was going to go, and how his help was going to benefit them. Time skip. It was a prison. It was large. Kiri was made up of several different islands. The main one was the village. However, the smaller ones were used for different reasons. One of the islands had a prison. A gigantic prison that housed several dangerous people, but more so, several dangerous bloodline users that had been taken and jailed for their crime, well, being born with a bloodline. They were tortured to give up the information. However, there was no one in Kiri that possessed the ability to go mind walking like Konoha. However, the information was never leaked. The rebellions have several camps located all over. Majority of them are underground. Normally, a censor could not sense someone without them exerting themselves. So for Naruto to be able to sense them was quite a feat upon itself. But his ability was not normal. Kushina was a great sensor. Minato was a touch sensor, able to place his hand down on an area and search. Naruto was a combination. However, his sensory ability was far more stronger even combined. His ability was borderline abnormal, which it was. However, at the moment, 2 guard posts, with 2 guards in each, was standing proud and tall at the front. There were sensory seals set up. There were all sorts of things to make sure that no one broke into this prison. However, tonight was a special night. There were going to be some shipments that were deployed to the prison. And there were going to be some movements, some openings. Out of all the other times, this was the right night to strike. There were several cargoes making their way towards the island, as they were shipped there on a boat. Arriving there, several loyalists brought the equipment making their way, as 2 of the men at the front, and 2 at the back, and 2 at the side, which makes 6, as they walk in a perfect line, ready to strike down anyone that made a move against them. The island shores were unprotected like the rest. However, they got deep, and there was no one that got in their way, so that was good. They arrived, as they had to go through the first check. "Is this a shipment?" the guard asked, as the man on the right nodded to him. "First and last." "Well, it's better," the guard said. "Less exposure, less chance of those bloodline bastards trying to make a move. I've heard that they've been doing a lot lately. Yeah, they're getting quite bold. It's only a matter of time though before our Lord strike all of them down." "Yeah, you're right about that. They deserve what is coming for them anyway. They are the cursed ones," as the others nodded. After making sure everything was set, they were allowed to move forward, as they had to go through a second check, and a third to get inside. Upon doing so, they were able to step in and walk the halls. The place seemed vacant, but there was ninjas all around. The cargo was pushed inside. There was a lot. The island wasn't just a prison. It was also home for the guards. It was the best way to make sure that the prisoners were kept on their daily watch. Also, this is where the blacksmith had been. This is where they had the furnace. This is where they made the blades. It had been this way from the beginning, so even after the bloodline start, even after the war came up, they had not changed it. The blacksmith was an old man. He had white hair, a large bushy beard, dark eyes. As he was a master crafter, those hands of his has made excellent weapons that has made Kiri being feared by many. He was not a supporter of what was going on, but he had no choice. To continuously pumping them with weapons, special tools that could help them win the war. If he did not, his family would be at risk. So he had to. Making their way inside, the group separated as they went to drop off the shipments that were needed for the man here, bringing in the crates, supplying the people with them, the guards helping them along to make things move faster. The one at the front, the leader, he had dark hair and green eyes. He was an average looking man. However, as he walked, there was something on his chest, hidden by his clothing. As he made his way, "Where are you going?" one of the guard asked. "I have to take a leak," he said. Oh. With that, he made his way. He wasn't much of a newbie, but the other guy has been here more than him, but this was his time to do delivery. It's not to say that they did not trust him, but things were not that cut and dry around here. As he made his way to the bathroom, he got there. As he stepped inside, he was actually taking a leak. They had made sure to check. That was how paranoid they were. These guards here at the prison were much more paranoid, knowing that the rebellion group wanted these people back. As he was in there alone, he wasted no time. Once he was done, he quickly exposed his chest. A strange sealing marker was on it. He quickly then turned to his hand as he pulled out a tiny little knife from his back pocket. He then sliced into his own skin and pulled out something. It was a tiny headset, a receiver and a transmitter, specially made. As he brought it up to his mouth before, he went through 2 hand signs. He slammed his hand on his chest as he then spoke. Now, as he said that, an explosion went off. It was outside. Chakra filled the entire place. It seems like someone was just releasing it in its purest form. The guards quickly got their weapons, unaware of the chakra that was spreading inside. When they got there though, there was nothing there. Earlier, as the men were walking inside, the leader, as he walked his feet, something was at the bottom of his shoe, and it was being implanted in the ground. It was remote triggered. They were not too far away, so when he gave the signal, they went off. An explosion to draw their attention, and then chakra was released to divert them from the chakra that was being released inside. As he performed the jutsu, it was a reverse summon, something that he'd worked on, which is why it took them so long to attack the prison. Now, in the bathroom, instead of 1, there was 4. The man collapsed down. The chakra that was needed to summon these people was a lot. This wasn't any normal summoning after all. This is not a contract between animal and summoner. This is summoning live humans. So it took a lot out of him, but he was willing to do this sacrifice. He was one of the rebellions who had stayed behind to help them. He did not possess a bloodline though, but he was a supporter of the bloodline user, so he had stayed behind. He had made sure everything worked perfectly and he got the job to be the one to deliver the shipment. Upon getting there, he did this once before for them to recognize him, to give him more leeway and for him to scout out the prison. The second time for him to scout again. And he had everything down, with little movements and looks all over the area. And now, his body was taken away in a reverse summon. Summoned back as someone spoke, telling them to get him out of there. He was weak, unable to do much, but he already did a great service for them. The one at the front, it was a woman. As she spoke quickly, scatter. Upon saying that, her and her 4 companions vanished, like they were never there. There was a good amount of soldiers here to protect the place. At the moment, 2 guards were returning back as they made their way through the halls. Before they could even do anything, they were unconscious, needles stuck in their neck. Their bodies were taken and hid, the individual vanishing within the darkness. Over on the other side, there were 3 guards speaking about the commotion. Before they could do anything, someone appeared behind them, and they were all taken out by a mysterious attack. It set off alarms though, but that was exactly what was needed. 2 guards came rushing down the hall, only for them to fall into an inky black darkness. Whatever was on the ground seemed like a shadow, but it sucked them inside. Coming out of it was a woman. She had dark hair and dark eyes, a special bloodline user of the village. She brought her hand up to her earpiece. "They're taken out. Move," she said. Upon saying that, the leader of the group, this was another female who seemed to be older than all of them. She had dark purple hair, along with purple eyes as well. As she crawled along the ceiling, she wasn't using chakra. as she crawled along it. She arrived towards a room after successfully going through the area that was set clean. In this room though, as she could hear, there was a bunch of them in there. This was a special room that kept this whole place under control. The sealing matrix was inside, that kept all the prison cells shut. The seals that stopped them from doing anything, the seals that were placed on the prisoners so they could not escape. Because if the prisoners step outside with those seals on, anyone here could simply activate them, and the pain would be unbearable, and too much exposure would cause death. There was still so much more guards inside, but this was the area that they need to be, because once they did this, they would be able to cause a commotion and free them all, and escape in the process. They already had a backup plan for that, just in case. She slowly reached up, as there was something wrapped around her face, the lower half. She pulled it down, exposing her lips. However, there was a scar that split the side of her mouth, that made it seem like she was always smiling. As she looked towards the entrance, there was a small little hole there for ventilation. She then started to apply a toxin from her mouth, a strange white toxin that seemed to spread in the room. She applied a lot as she landed in front of the door. Immediately she kept her hands towards it as she held it shut. On the inside, the guards start to feel woozy. "What's going on?" one of them said. As he looked around, the place started to tremble, as he wondered if he was seeing things. Is it an earthquake? Something's wrong. Hey, what's that smell? Let's get out of here. As they moved towards the door, however, it wouldn't budge. As they tried to open it, but it wouldn't open up. The strange smell started to get heavier, and it started to affect them as their grip. Their strength was leaving them. The leader and a few others. She was born in a special family. Their bloodline was a reptile acidic nature. The scar in her mouth was not exactly a scar. It was just the way the members were born, and the toxin that she released. It wasn't one to kill but one to knock out. It was rather effective after a few seconds. She just had to keep them in there, and their body grew weaker. It was almost like being paralyzed. However, it went through their system rather quickly. Even just touching their skin, it could affect them. So smelling it, drawing it in by breathing, was more effective. Their bodies dropped. Someone landed beside her as she held her hand out and pressed it against his forehead, administrating the antidote so that he would not be affected by the toxin that was inside. It was coming from her skin. He went inside without little to no hesitation. As he saw everything, he stepped forward, his blonde hair swaying as he pressed his hand down on the control panel in front of him, where all the seals and the matrix were. It wasn't anything too complex, but they were all connected together. So all he needed to do was absorb it. He started to suck the chakra out, feeding on the chakra, as he was absorbing the chakra out of the whole system. Alarms started to blare, natural alarms going off, as the sealing matrix was failing, and the alarm would activate to make sure that they do something to stop it. "Hurry it up in there," she said. "Almost done," he said, as he kept on absorbing the chakra. That is when a horde of guards started to rush down the hall, weapons drawn, hands perfectly set, to perform and execute abilities to take the intruders down. However, the ground became a sludge that many of them slipped into, a black sludge that swallowed them whole. The third teammate landed. She was the other girl that was able to create these black sludge, another special bloodline of a residents of Kiri. The members of this clan, they had the ability to use sludge. This sludge was able to confine any opponent that stepped into it, taking them down like quicksand. concealing their body and holding them, restraining them. However, she could only restrain a few people, not all of the amount. The rest were taken out though as senmons hit them in the neck, bodies falling to the ground, but there were still more. The rest are coming. Quick, we have to move, she said. As she looked towards the other one with the blonde. Here, do your thing. He held his hand out as electricity starts to run down his hand. He waved no hand sign as he gathered it. He then shoot it upwards. A violent explosion as the ceiling was blown apart. Alright, move, she said as all of them rushed down the hall, the four of them making their way. The sound caused a commotion. All of the prisoners that knew what to do quickly made their way. They were told if they were ever captured that they would be rescued. They were told that from the beginning the prison would be swarmed, as they figured this was it. That was it. That was a sign. All of the bloodline users, now free, started to fight back. It was a bloodbath. There was also criminals in Kiri, normal criminals that wanted nothing but chaos. The leader of the group arrived towards the area she saw chaos going on all around them. As she shouted, BL, move! It was a special code, BL for bloodline. All the members quickly jumped to their area. As they started to flee, the guards waving hand sign. A massive fireball was shot towards one of the prisoners' back, only for the blonde to jump right in front of it and hold his hand out. As the chakra was absorbed, rendering the fireball useless. This was none other than Naruto himself, but he was no longer that young pipsqueak that he was. Majority of the members were terribly exhausted and weak, so it was hard for them to fight back. Leaping forward, the last member of the group being none other than Haku as he landed, slamming his hands on the ground. Massive ice pillars shot forward, stopping the guards and their ascent, otherwise they would be skewered. The leader of the group, her name was Reina, she flipped over. She flied through hand sign as she slammed her hand down. The ground started to give way. The toxin that was coming from her skin started to melt the ground away like acid, as it also started to eat away at the pillar as well, destroying it. Haku, she said. Haku quickly made the ice slide, as all the members jumped down and slide. Getting away from this, they were not strong enough to keep up. Their bodies were set in poor condition for a long while, so they could not fight back. As the ones that were not with them were fighting though, being stuck in here for so long, they were trying their hardest. Those were not of the bloodline movement, just crazy criminals who have done heartless and merciless things. However, in order to get their people back, they had to release them as well because they had to destroy the entire system. As Reina stood there helping them one after another go down. However, the guards start to rear their ugly heads. The other girl on the team, her name was Iso, as she quickly made her way using her sludge ability, creating several sludge swamp, capturing her opponent and pulling them down. As for Naruto, who was no longer the same pipsqueak that he was, going by the name Menma same way, he was facing off against several Kiri ninjas at once. Naruto ducked under several jabs. They were fast, however he was faster. He threw and knocked them out of his way, rescuing the harmless and the innocent that did not deserve this treatment. A guy tried to stab him as Naruto spun out of the way and grabbed his wrist and yanked him forward. He placed his hand against the guy's chest. The guy screamed out as Naruto electrocuted him. Another one snuck upon him as Naruto expelled wind out of his mouth. It hit the floor with a traumatic force, blowing him away. As Naruto flipped in the air, flipping over several kunais, he plucked one out of the air and launched it. It stabbed into the enemy's shoulder and pinned him against the wall. As Naruto flipped and slammed his heel in the guy's head, knocking him out cold. Some of these guys were just fighting for their leader. They were given an order by the Mizukage. Some of them were true monsters, but it was hard to tell who would surrender when the time came. After all, they could not just kill off all the people of Kiri. The village would be left defenseless in the end. Majority of these people were just doing what they were being told. That is why they were not killing them, even though they were coming after them with the intent to kill. How much longer, said Naruto. Almost done, said Reina, as Naruto ducked under several swipes, dodging and parrying. As he knocked and hit, he made sure to hold back his strength so he would not fatally wound or kill them. It's over, Reina said. Hearing that, Haku leaped down as well, as Naruto brought his hand together. A surge of electricity ran down his arms, as they seemed to tingle at his fingertips, before he blasted the ceiling. The whole thing came collapsing down, blocking the area, as Naruto slid down as well. One of the prisoners stepped forward as he coughed. This was great and all. However, how exactly are we all gonna get out of here before they break that, he asks. Oh, that's easy. I'm the escape plan, said Naruto. Huh? How? Simple, said Naruto. As Reina used her poison against the wall, it ate away at it. Once that was done, they were able to run through the center side. Coming through, several guards were waiting on them. However, they expected that. Several ice needles shot forward at blinding speed, courtesy of Haku. They were all aimed just to distract, as Naruto jumped up in the air. He spun, his whole body becoming a literal vortex. It was pure wind manipulation as he came down. When his hand touched the ground, they were blasted to Kingdom Come. Naruto then brought his hand together. Multi-Shadow Clone Jutsu, he said. A large quantity of clones came into existence. They looked behind them as he heard the ninjas coming and the others regrouping. Hold on tight, as he grabbed each and every one of the prisoners, one clone after another grabbing them. As they took to the sky, surprising the prisoners. Even in their weak and tired state, they were rather shocked. It's rare that you see someone flying nowadays. As Naruto grabbed the members of his group, he started to at least. It was just him and Reina that was left. As he scooped her up. Ready to go, said Naruto. She smiled under her face cover. Let's get out of here, she said. As judging the look on her face, she seemed to know Naruto quite well. Well, he has been here for some time now. With that, Naruto started to take off, using wind manipulation to get far up in the sky to get away from here. His clones are getting away from here with the individuals. A last clone was left on the ground. The clone started to manipulate the wind around him to pull the sand from the shore, as he used it to create a massive whirlwind. It was colossal. The gigantic whirlwind pulled the sand up and used it as a massive distraction. They did it. Their mission was a success. Even though their numbers were few, they were able to sneak in, using years of planning to get things through and to get away. As Naruto was making his way off with Reina, he sensed something as he snapped his head down. What the hell? Before Reina could ask what it was, the water exploded upwards, slamming into the two, as Naruto clones were already a distance away. The force knocked him and Reina away as he started to fall. As Naruto was knocked by another jet of water. Confusion. He was slammed by another, as he heard Reina scream, snapping his head around the water in his face. Naruto released a violent pulse of pure chakra that blew it away, shielding him as he saw Reina. What Naruto saw snapped something inside of him, as Reina was currently impaled on the bottom end of the staff, belonging to none other than Yagura. Naruto could not believe it. Yagura, on the other hand, had waited for this moment. He wasn't able to catch all of them, but at least he was able to catch two of the more important ones. These two has been hassling his side for some time now. Reina the Serpent and the Dark Knight. That is what they call that boy up there. He's been doing a lot of ops in the night, destroying many of his support camps in the night, attacking many of his people in the night, so they dubbed him as such. However, Yagra knew that something like this would happen. The date, everything, with their shipping. The last two shipping he did the same thing, but no one came. On the third one though, he got lucky. Yagra had went deep underwater. Unlike normal people, he was able to hold his breath a lot longer, as he was able to create a pocket of air, using the water to his advantage, which could have him there for an extremely long amount of time. He had swam deep under the surface out of anyone's radar. He made sure to further show that by going underneath the ground. He had dug under the bottom of the massive sea, and he had stayed there until the time was right. He was the only one that could do a feat like this. That is why he was the only one here. He figured something like this might happen, and this was his chance. Even if you were the world's greatest sensor, you would not sense him because of where he was. And using that opportunity, he was able to surprise them. Naruto, on the other hand, was still stuck in a state of shock as he watched Reina double over, the spear tearing through her. Yagra looked up towards him. "Are you just gonna stay there," he said, "or will you come an avenger?" Naruto was frozen where he was. It's been 2 years since he came here. 2 long years, yes. At first, no one trusted him. Why would they? They have a hard time trusting. However, Naruto was able to gain each and every one of their trusts. He made friends. Reina was actually one of his first friends. She told him straight, they might not trust him, but they need all the help they can get. And she didn't know why, but he had a trustworthy face. However, if he ever betrayed her or them, she would melt his face off and laugh while doing so. She was a bit of a psychopath, and it was rather hilarious. At least Naruto thought so. Reina had taken a role as an older companion, a friend, a sister to him. She was much older than him. She's been at this for a very long time, experienced. She knew how chaotic this world could be, so she tried to look out for him, to make him understand, to make him know the struggles that he had to go through each and every day. As Naruto had felt alone, yes, he did. At first it was painful, remembering the people that he missed so much. So when Reina became close to him, he held on to that friendship very good. And for the past 2 years, they've been close. Yes, they have. As Naruto had saw her as an older sister, someone that he could look up to, someone that's been through it and understand what is needed. As Naruto came here, lost, to find something, to wait, hoping that one day that Jiraiya would give him the good news. However, as time passed by, the more his hope go down. But Reina was there. And when she was, he always felt like there was a chance for everything to return back to normal. And yet, as he looked down at her, as her body limped over on that staff, and Yagra had this uncaring look on his face, Naruto lost it. Over the past 2 years, Naruto had learned from the scrolls that Jiraiya gave him. But not just that. He had also been able to talk to Yui again. And through their conversation, Naruto learned a lot. But now that wasn't on his mind. What was on his mind was striking back. Yagra had been concealed and locked away in his palace That was basically what it was. Not interfering, but now, for him to be here, for him to do this, for him to take Reina away from him. Naruto dropped from the sky like a bullet as he slammed down on top of the water, creating a colossal ripple, forcing Yagura to jump up as he steadied himself once it did. As Naruto was standing there, his body started to burn with chakra. The whole place was illuminated by it. The darkness of the night started to get bright as Naruto's forehead started to be affected by it. Even his eyes were different as they turned completely green like Yui. The markings over his body started to expand, power oozing off him. It caused Yagura to take a step back at what was going on. The water started to tremble. The whole sea was vibrating inside of his mindscape. Green eyes opened up as a smile came on her face. It's been a long time since he exercised his power. However, she saw what led to this. But this would make him understand that he needed to be ruthless, even more than before, because the threats that were coming soon, he needed to be ruthless to kill them all. As Yui was watching the whole thing, things were different between her and Naruto. Not so much, but they were different. As she felt his power reaching new heights, he was diving deeper than ever before, accepting what he truly was, showing the might that he have to crush this man. But guys, be and subscribe right here if one thing's worse than do. Like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn on that bell notifications they posted. Remember, share to all of your friends in social media platform. But more for now, see you guys soon. Peace.